All right, guys and gals, welcome back. RallyWerks Garage. Sign is still missing. Who can make something? I want to put a sign there. I mean, that's cool. Ignore the mess, please. Anyway, yeah. All right, so today, you probably read the title. We're talking about the Scott stabilizer. I'd mentioned this in the ergonomics video I posted the other day, and this thing is, there's magic in here, and it is responsible probably for a lot of close calls and avoiding disaster. I don't know. But I think it's one of those things that when done properly, set properly, it helps the rider with the fatigue and stuff like that. And I mean, don't take my word for it. Plenty of professional racers have used this. You'll still find these exact versions on a ton of different bikes. But wanted to go over a couple things today. One is basically, this one did not have an arm on it. I had to put the arm on it. But I figured, okay, well, before I cinch everything down, let's do a quick video on how to change the arm on one of these. And then on the second part of this video, I'm going to go over the adjustments for this really quick. So that's on the agenda for today. Let's jump right into it. So Scott stabilizer, if we need to change the arm, you're going to need a few things. One, and probably the most important, is the arm puller. So any of this stuff, I'm going to leave links in the description so that you guys have them. So sometimes it's not about the design of the arm, it's just about changing the orientation depending on how, you know, your stabilizer is set up. The arm might need to be up here, or like on most, like the Kove and most of the adventure bikes, the arm hides under the stabilizer. So you're gonna need the actual arm puller. You could probably wedge it out of there if you enjoy scarring the aluminum and possibly wrecking something. So your arm puller, you're gonna need a 15mm socket and open end wrench to get the nut off of this thing. You're going to need some sockets. I'm using a 17. I could use this same 15 as well, but I'm going to be using the 17 so I can get in there. Or it's 17 down here or 15, and then you can use a 10mm up here. So you want to put pressure on this actual pin, not the body of it. So you need a socket that's going to fit in there. So 10mm, 17mm, 15mm, and then you could still use even the 15mm. You don't need the 17 for that, but yeah, that's what we got. So arm puller, you're gonna need the Allen wrenches for the arm puller. This is gonna be a 6mm for this guy, and this is gonna be a 3mm for these other ones. So these may vary depending on which version of these you have or where you got it from. Open end wrench. And then for the second part of the video, you're gonna need a flathead screwdriver, probably the world's most expensive tuning screwdriver for RC cars, but it has now been upgraded. I'm not gonna say downgraded, upgraded to being the precision screwdriver for doing adjustments and stuff like that. So that's the tools needed. Let's get into this thing. So this is already loose. I didn't tighten it up really wild. So you're gonna undo the nut here. There's gonna be some blue Loctite. You might have to heat it up or do something in order to get this nut to break free a little bit. Anytime you're using heat on any of these things, remember there's seals in this. So don't go wild. Do the bare minimum to be able to get this thing free. So it doesn't take much heat to get that loose. So we'll set that aside. We're gonna set up our arm puller. As you can see, you've got the 3 threaded pieces on the arm, then you've got the center shaft there. So I'm gonna just present all of these. The O-ring will let it float a little bit without letting the bolt come out. So we'll get this one kind of cinched down, then we'll get these cinched down. I'm not really going super tight on this because I don't want it to pull it unevenly or anything like that. So just kind of presenting everything, making sure that it's all, you know, within reason, I guess you should say. So I'm gonna tighten that up a little bit. What I'm trying to do is I'm looking at the level of the block here, and I'm trying to make sure that it's parallel to the arm. I don't know if that's actually a necessary thing, but you know, my OCD says that's a good thing. But you can see I'm just barely finger tightening this. to set it up. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and start twisting on this, and the arm is off. That was it. So super easy on that. This is a shear pin according to the manual, according to the instructions, which means this thing will actually snap off if needed. It's just to kind of indicate or kind of index this thing. But more importantly, again, it's a shear pin, so don't mess with that one. Don't need to. All right, so now arm in hand. Next, we're going to remove the removal tool, and we're going to go back together again here. So what we want to do is get rid of this. I did put a little bit of lubricant on here just to get, just to make it a little easier to put on, but basically I've presented it onto there. Now I'm going to open up the vise here. I'm going to change this over to the flat sides. I'm going to be really careful with this. I'm actually trying not to mar, and I'll use the 15, try and minimize the tools here. Trying not to mar the sockets on this thing, so we'll hold these intact here. Let's see, yeah, we're definitely going to need a little bit more room than that. All right, I think we're good there. So let's get this situated, and remember this thing, I'm trying to keep this socket, the 10mm socket, right dead center over this pin right here. I do not want to put pressure on the aluminum case whatsoever. So we're going to back this thing out. Let's lower it a little bit, and now we come back into it, making sure everything stays aligned. I'm going to start putting some pressure on this thing. Again, we don't want to ruin anything, so let's keep taking a look here. It looks like we're doing all right. I'm gonna drop it a little bit lower in this. Just really try and get the pin, there it is. Just try and get everything situated. And pressure to compress this thing, I'm not going wild. I'm just, all right, cool. I should put a torque thing on this so I can tell how much torque we're putting to it, but that's it. It's basically, it's seated. Didn't take a whole lot of pressure. You can see here it is flush now, the arm with this, so we are good to go there. OCD says let's put the vise back to where it needs to be. All right, so we've got this on. We've gotten the arm off. We've put the arm back on. We've got our 15mm socket for the nut, which is here. Don't need these anymore. So now we want to do is get some Loctite onto this part here. So I've been using the Revlock stuff. I've had pretty good luck with it. There's a few different ones, but use like a blue, use something lighter. Don't go red, don't go green. Yeah. So just gonna put a dab on there. I don't think it takes a whole lot. So we'll just wipe that there. It's got some on there. So now putting the nut on this thing, and then we're gonna have to tighten it. So according to the manual, we're gonna do 20 foot-pounds on this nut, or if you do the conversion, it's 27 Newton meters. So it's easier to read the Newton meters on my torque wrench. So we'll use Newton meters on that, but it's 27 Newton meters or 20 foot-pounds. So let's go ahead and get the socket on here. Probably gonna have to put this thing in the vise just to make sure we get it clamped down. Again, we're using the no mar deals here, so we're not gonna mar this thing, just trying to torque it. Now you can see I'm gonna have to fight through this, and then now we give it those Newton meters. And talk about a leap of faith. It feels like it's way more than it needs, but let's get this stabilized here. There it is. So 27 Newton meters or 20 foot-pounds, and that is the steering stabilizer with the arm changed on it. So be careful if you put it the other way. This one's going to hit. There are different arms that you can get, different lengths, different heights, stack heights, that kind of thing. This is a pretty standard arm for these. And then again, remember, you may have to change the orientation depending on how your stabilizer sits. On the Kove, the stabilizer sits in this direction. So then you got to face the arm the other way. Okay, let's jump into the adjustments. Okay, so let's talk about settings really quick on the Scott stabilizer. So you've got 3 settings for this setup, and it's pretty cool that it has its different features. Like, for instance, these will dampen on the way out, means when you're turning the bars, but on the way back to center, they will not dampen. That of course is for the off-road ones. The road ones that have an R up here have a different basically programming in it. So the initial settings, typically from Scott's, you have your low speed, the one that we adjust or spend more time adjusting. You have your high speed, so this is for those like perfectly straight and then all of a sudden a rock comes out of nowhere and hits it. That's your high speed dampening. And then you have your sweep adjustments. So typically on these, this could be pretty much, I mean, anywhere it can come. You want to maybe go halfway, count the clicks, go halfway on it. On the high speed one, this setting, some of these will have the dot on them. So you would screw that in, like this one is set right now to 1 turn out. If it doesn't have the dot on it, some of the older ones, you go 1.5 turns on. You bottom it out, you could mark it with a marker and then you go 1.5 turns out. So these two are related. You could put this thing all the way in and it'll be super, super stiff all the time. You can put this one all the way in and it will basically cancel this one out. So there is some balance here on this. I'm going to be running it and I'll go over that at the end, what my settings are going to be on this. And then over here, you have your sweep adjustment. So the sweep adjustment, I don't know if you guys can see, there's a little chamfer on this screw right here. It's not even a screw. On this dial, there's a little chamfer indicating what position it is. So in the 9 o'clock, you're looking at 17 degrees of sweep, which means this thing will go 17 degrees before it breaks loose. In the 12 o'clock, you're looking at 22 degrees before it breaks loose. On the 3 o'clock, you're looking at 27 degrees before it breaks loose. And then if you go to the 6 o'clock position with this chamfer, that's going to go all the way to the end. So it basically dampens all the way out and then obviously releases when it comes back in. So those are the 3 basic settings. Like the factory settings is going to have this at 12. If it's got a dot, it's going to be 1 turn out. On these, I mean, it can vary. Usually you would find them at like the halfway point on this. So let's talk my settings that I'm using. And these settings actually, in talking to Ty Davis of ZipTy Racing, Baja legend racing, his kid, also a racer for Gas, and former Kawasaki for Ty Davis. I mean, like there's some racing pedigree there that these guys know what they're talking about. These are the settings he kind of passed along to me, and it made total sense when I was at. So on the sides here for our sweep, we go all the way to the narrow setting. So we're going to put it at the 9 o'clock setting. Now there's a dot on here that makes it kind of confusing. That's not the setting you're looking for. What you're looking for is that chamfer. And then it's always set as you face it. So this side, we're going to turn it over. And then again, we're going to put it over to the 9 o'clock setting. So it's weird because when you turn it over, the 9 o'clock setting is back here. And then when you turn it to this side, the 9 o'clock setting is over here, but it's always set when you're facing it. So this now effectively what it's going to do is it's going to change it so that it dampens only right in the center of this thing. So which is kind of what I would like. I only want the help right in the middle, just keeping the bike centered. If you're probably riding in like rockier terrain and stuff like that, then you would want to maybe make this either right there, or you're going to want to keep it at the 27. It's to taste. Once you know what these settings are responsible for, I think you should go out and experiment on it. So on the high speed valve, so we're gonna reset it. So I'm gonna line up the dot for me. So the dot is gonna be at 12 o'clock. Once I screw this all the way in, so you can see that the dot, if I'm holding this perfectly, straight, the dot is just a little bit off center. So if I wanted to go exactly one turn out, I would go all the way around and then leave it just a little bit off that. So these valves can be really touchy, so you don't want to go too wild on it. So from here, I'm going to go out a little ways, and I'm going to say either 1.5. So again, I'm doing it at the 12 o'clock position from where this screw ended. These are all finger movements. I'm not having to crank on anything, especially when you bottom it out. It should never be a cranking motion. You should just do it with your fingers. It doesn't take a lot of torque. So I can go there 1.5, and then I can go 2. Now I'm gonna go 2 on this just to try it out and see how it works for me, and then come back and adjust. Now that's my high speed setting. That means that as I release this, as I turn this out, it's going to dampen less. It's going to be less of a hit. I'm going to probably feel it a little bit more. If I was to crank this thing down and I get a high speed hit with this thing all the way open, that's going to dampen hard. The way I have it set now, 2 turns out, it's probably going to be a little bit lighter of a dampening, but it's not going to be too tough. This also is a setting, like if you're doing a lot of technical stuff and you want the bars to break free relatively easily, sometimes you try and change direction quickly, you could inadvertently activate the high speed valve on this thing. So you want to make sure that you kind of play with it a little bit, maybe do some quick hits and just see what it feels like. You can always lift the front of the bike, get it on that stabilizer, get everything set, and then do some quick movements and just kind of see how that feels for you. With this guy, what we're going to do is I'm going to go all the way in, and I'm going to set it to the halfway point. So again, we're screwing it in. I feel that click, and then there's no more click. So to me, rather than start there for counting, I'm going to go here and then go halfway out on the clicks and leave that as my base setting. So basically what we've done is we've narrowed the sweep so it only dampens right on center. We've changed the high speed so it will dampen the hard hits, but not harshly. So it will activate sooner and not be as harsh of a dampening when it does it. This I may want to turn down if I keep getting the bars taken out of my hands, and to increase the dampening. Out, unscrewing it means you're making it softer, and then screwing it in means you're making it harder. Then on my base setting here for the base valve or the low speed, I'm going to put this at the halfway point and start there. Once I figure it out, the idea is that it's now set. I don't have to mess with this. I don't have to, going into the sand, let me back this all the way out. No, it's designed and it's set so that I don't have to mess with this. I can just focus on riding that thing. So drop your comments. What kind of settings have you guys done on these things? What do you think? I think this is, now that I know that it has all of these adjustments, it's going to be a while before I try another stabilizer. Maybe we do some head-to-head comparisons, do something along those lines. But yeah, I'm absolutely stoked with this thing. I'm looking forward to getting out and using it now that we've got it set up once again. This one has been rebuilt. That one needs to be rebuilt. These have been sitting in there in the toolbox for a little bit. This came off of another bike that I had. This was actually off my adventure bike. Side note, the reason I probably took a soil sample a couple of times, and then especially towards the middle of the day was getting tired, I had this thing set up completely wrong and I was fighting it the entire time. So this will get you tired just having to sweep through it. Without knowing, I had set it up to basically dampen all the way out to the end. And then on top of that, I had this set up way too tight. So it was a lot of fighting back and forth. So you want this to barely be there. I think, in my opinion, you want this to barely be there. You don't want to feel it all the time, but you want to know that it's going to catch you if you hit something harsh, something hard. So those are the settings. Drop in the comments below, like, share, subscribe if you like this thing. Let me know. Are you using Scott's? Are you using another one? What are your settings? What have you found on these things? So again, Scott's steering stabilizer. These things are rad. So, all right, we'll see you for the next video.